are listening to the most comprehensive paranormal archive on the internet.
Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I am sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web. For a second, I thought my recorder wasn't working, but everything looks like it's okay. And for everything to do with the podcast, you can find all that at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. And that includes all the episodes, links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show, as well as friends of the show, including Jen, the Arcane Observer, who has her own channel and is the co-host of this show on Saturdays when she can join me. And I did want to finish what I was talking about at the end of the last episode here in doing this show. So I was talking about the house that used to belong to my dad and my former stepmom, and I used to go over there and visit every so often. And I had mentioned how I volunteered to stay in the house for about a week or so on my own when they went on a trip somewhere. And at night, it got to feeling like the house was just super crowded with people I couldn't see, and the only way to be comfortable in that house at night was to have music or TV or radio, some kind of sound playing, and then I was fine. And the other thing, it wasn't just that time, and I realized this many years later, but I was talking about how at night, when I would get up to go use the bathroom, I would get that same feeling because the bedrooms, all the other bedrooms for my dad and my former stepmom, and then the other room for my sister, they were all those bedrooms are upstairs on the second floor. Mine was the only room on the ground floor, and so at night I would get up to have to use the bathroom, and that entire ground floor would have that same feeling, and I'd feel like I was interrupting something, and so I would just hurry to the bathroom and do what I had to do, and then hurry back to the room I was staying in. And so there is something to that feeling of presence without anything else even having to happen. And that, I don't know, if the sound, I think it can go a couple of different ways with that. I do think that sound and light can be used as energy sources for whatever is out there. I do think that they can also just be sort of comforting or familiar or things that, if there's presences there, they want these things to be a certain way because of their own preferences. And so there's that factor as well, especially when it comes to like TV or radio. I'm sure we've all heard of accounts of the TV or radio stations changing on their own, and to go to a certain type of music or a certain type of TV channel or sports game of some kind. And I think in some cases, having basically people can do what I was doing, which is just use sound to make myself feel more comfortable on my end. So there's all kinds of little factors that go into all this, as usual. And this is sort of regarding the last experience I shared in the previous episode. So I wanted to finish that since I stopped it in the middle, as we were literally out of time. But continuing on with these experiences, let's see here. This one says, okay, something really weird happened to me just now. I got home from work today, and I was looking for a pair of scissors that I keep in my upstairs bathroom. They weren't anywhere in my bathroom. I literally looked through all of my cabinets in the bathroom, all of my makeup bags, my hallway closet. I searched my bedroom. I opened up the drawer of my nightstand to look for these scissors, and they were nowhere to be found. I needed the scissors to cut off the tag from a bathing suit that I'm wearing today. I eventually gave up and got a pair of scissors from downstairs. I went back up and just did what I needed to do, and then went downstairs to kill a couple of hours before I had to get ready for my 4th of July party. I went back upstairs to the bathroom, and the scissors were sitting on the bathroom sink. The original scissors I was looking for. It's a 900 square foot condo. The two entrances are on my downstairs floor. No one could come in while I was downstairs. This is literally so weird. And that's where that one ends. And this is another case of objects vanishing and appearing. Again, I've talked about this before. I had my phone charger years ago once vanish on me. And now in my case, I actually knew that there was activity here. So I said out loud, if there's anyone here that can help me find my phone charger, I'd appreciate it, because if my phone runs out of energy, runs out of power, my family will come because they'll wonder why I'm not responding. And so I stopped looking around, and when I look around for things, I look with my hands, not just my eyes, because I'm legally blind. And so I know the phone charger was not where I had left it, which is on this one extra chair I have. And so I stopped looking for a while, a couple hours or so. Decided to look around again later on that same day. And went back to that chair eventually. That charger was back on that chair where I had left it. Even though I had felt around the chair, it was not there. It was right where it was not where I had set it. I knew where I had set it. And yeah, so these things can happen, do happen. I do wonder. In my case, it seemed like it may have been an intelligence behind it. But I have heard of and read so many accounts of things vanishing and appearing where there doesn't seem to be. I don't get a sense of it being an intelligent presence that is doing that. And those are cases where I wonder about just the mechanics or the way reality works and or doesn't work, in that can objects vanish and appear in places due to just, again, the way that this reality is constructed. Can there be situations with energy and time and space and all those things where this can happen? Because there are cases where it doesn't seem like there's an intelligence behind it. So, anyway, moving on to the next one here. This one says, it seems like things I can't explain increase at certain times, usually around times of duress. I grew up open-minded, and I have experienced things I can't explain. But I've heard people walking around upstairs when no one else was home. Things falling off the bookshelf when I'm in an argument. There's more, but I don't want to share and sound foolish to someone that doesn't have the same experiences or some insight. Seems like it's kicked up a notch lately, though, for sure. And that's where that one ends. And it could be their own energy, especially when it comes to objects moving. I do think that's the thing that can happen. The footsteps is odd. I don't think I've heard of people's own energy causing that. So there could be multiple things going on there. And it could be that there could be other presences there also reacting to that energy of the person. or the energy increase causing maybe more things to be able to happen. All kinds of possibilities there, especially if there's more that they don't want to go into. I understand that. There's an experience I had that I've been talking about more. Excuse me, talking about more as of recently that it happened a few years ago, and I only recently, just this year, decided to share it because for a while I just couldn't. Um, so I understand that, and but yeah, hopefully things improve for the person that made that post. Moving on to the next one here. This one says, one night around 12:15 a.m., I was sitting alone in the dark watching TV. Everyone else in the house was fast asleep. Suddenly, out of the dark archway connecting the den to the kitchen, a voice spoke clearly. "Good night, Mommy." I couldn't tell which of my kids it was supposed to be. In fact, I wasn't even sure it was one of my kids. The TV murmured on low volume, but otherwise, there was dead silence. I just pretended I didn't hear it talk. Whether it was my actual child awake past their bedtime or a mimic trying to trick me, I refused to answer. Rule number 1, you never respond to a mimic. That wasn't the only strange occurrence. There were multiple nights where I woke up certain my daughter had walked into our bedroom. I will watch her shadow glide around the bed toward my side. But every time I turned on my phone flashlight, the room was completely empty. And let's see here. There's more. Okay. Let's see. Wow, this is a long one. The absolute last straw happened on the winter solstice, a night when the veil between worlds is notoriously thin. This entity went too far and tried to mimic me. My husband was walking through the house when he saw what looked exactly like me walking down the hallway. As this figure moved, it was shutting off all the lights along the way. A specific habit of mine to save electricity. Believing it was me, he followed the figure down the hall, talking to it as it passed the kids' room and the spare bedroom. He followed me, in quotation marks, right into the bathroom at the very end of the hall. But when he stepped inside, wondering why I was standing there in total darkness, the room was empty, completely empty. I wasn't even on that side of the house. I was sitting across the house in the den. When my husband realized what happened, he came over to me, completely freaked out. At first, he didn't want to tell me because he didn't want to scare me, but I could see the look on his face and demanded the details. As he explained exactly what he saw, a cold realization hit me. I looked at him and gave a strict warning. Whatever you do right now, do not say my name out loud. Instead of feeling fear, I felt a sudden surge of protective empowerment. I was deeply annoyed that this thing was trying to steal my identity and trick my family. Armed with both my vanishing tools, I identify as a witch. I went directly to the hallway bathroom where I had just been. I stood my ground and firmly commanded that it was never allowed to take my form or the form of my family members ever again, and to leave now. I lit a white candle and left it on that side of the house, and did a full smoke cleanse of the entire house. We fortunately haven't had a single problem since, and that's where that one ends. That is fascinating. Sounds like they are better versed in these things than I am in certain ways, uh, as far as what to do and how to handle these things and all of that. I always say I don't have any answers for anyone as far as that goes. I just find and share experiences, but it sounds like it worked. The intent was there, and whatever they used was there, and I'm glad it worked. It reminds me of something that another post I shared, I don't know, a year or two ago, where this person didn't have any kind of background or tools, but apparently their intent worked on its own. It was a store of some kind. I forget now what kind it was, and there was some apparition or entity there that would go around mimicking employees. And there was one day where this mimic, in front of a bunch of people, went and pushed a stack of like paperwork or boxes or something off the corner of a desk, and the manager got so angry that they chased this figure out of the room until it vanished, and this person said out loud, basically, get out, stay out, don't ever do anything like that again, and never had a problem in that store again. So it's amazing to me how, you know, all this works, and and you know, whether it was evil in that case or this case or not, I don't know, but could have been. But it's always amazing to me how people have all kinds of experiences, and then when they deal with them, so often it's amazing how things work out, how often it does seem to work, whatever their intention and or their practices that they have, they seem to work, and things are basically kicked out. In other cases, things continue happening. It's just really odd. And that's another reason why I don't ever tell anyone what to do in a situation, because for everything I've heard of people doing that does work for one person in one case, I've heard of other people doing a similar thing and having it not work. And so, anyway, just really fascinating how that played out. But yeah, I do believe there's so many accounts of mimics, and it seems like that was one of them. Moving on to the next one here. Let's see. This one says, once I scroll back up again, too far. Okay. This one says, to start, my twin sister barged into my room at 4 a.m. to tell me that she had just had a terrifying dream and didn't want to be alone. She described the dream to me, and it was legitimately scary. And that dream reminded me of a distant memory. So I asked her if it was okay for me to tell her something scary that I had never told anyone. She told me it was fine, so I started telling her the story. So when I was a little kid, like 7 years old, we were living in a different apartment. The apartment was on the first floor. My twins and my room, my room, so the twins' room's window, overlooked a road. And even though it was on the first floor, the window was high up. So if a person stood outside and raised their arm, they might have been able to reach it. So one night we came back from school, and it was already night outside, so very, very dark. And after entering our room, I turned around to talk to my sister, where the window was caught in my line of sight. And I saw a very, very tall, fully dark, human-shaped figure with a white face. The only thing I remember was that it had a face, a very white face. It didn't have eyes, more like it was very black, a hollow void or holes. Same for the mouth. It definitely didn't look human. I got so spooked that I looked back, but it was not there anymore. The thing is, when I was telling my sister this story, the moment I said that I saw something in the window, a tall, black, human-shaped creature with, and so it cuts off there and says, she cut me off and finished the sentence by saying, white face. I started crying because that was terrifying. Then she proceeded to describe the face and the placement of the face in the window. And the moment I realized she was describing exactly what I saw, I started bawling my eyes out. Mind you, I remember it so well because it was the most terrifying memory of my childhood. And my sister just made it real. I thought my mind was playing tricks on me, but not anymore. And that's where that one ends. There are some accounts of these almost look like they're shadow figures, but then they have these white faces. And they'll have either no features on the face or they'll have just dark places where the mouth and the eyes should be. And they just seem to be around, and they end up watching or moving through a place, and then they're gone. It's really odd. I don't know what that is, or what the reason for that is. I do think fear can maybe just be a natural reaction, and that obviously, in that when you're afraid, it may be harder to pick up on the energy coming from these things to figure out if it's positive or neutral or negative. And so who knows what that was, but apparently they both saw the same thing, but didn't realize this until years later when they talked about it and had this thing happen. So really odd. Not the first time I've heard of something similar. And it's really fascinating how there's so many things that have one or two or three similarities or characteristics of the same thing, but then there's variations on everything. And you get that with apparitions, you get that with creatures or cryptids, you get that with these shadow-like figures, where sometimes they have that white face, other times they don't. Sometimes they have eyes, other times they don't, or lights for eyes. So anyway, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.